Let us discuss organizational development. Organizations are open systems that operate in an ever-changing environment. The changes that take place in the environment have its impact on the organization and its well-being. This changing environment throws up a lot of challenges in the form of competition from unknown players, technological changes, changes in the globalized markets, and many others. In order to survive and have stability, profitability, viability, and visibility in the market, the organizations should be able to cope with these challenges and also change accordingly. And this is exactly what is the basis of organizational development. Organizational development examines how any organization, in the face of a change or in the face of stagnation, needs to gear up, grow, and develop. Let us look at some definitions of organizational development to get a better insight into the true meaning of organizational development. Institutions are constantly under the pressure of changes that take place in the environment. Let us take the example of educational institutions. With changes in technology, many schools have adopted the smart board and EduComp. They have brought technology into the school classrooms. When an intervention program like this is introduced in the school, there is resistance to change. All staff members would not be trained and feel equally equipped to handle the smart boards or the EduComp, and there would be a lot of resistance. There would be a need for providing training programs for the other staff members who are not technologically literate. The Indian board schools are facing competition from the international board schools, and as a result, many of the schools that were thriving so well over the past years suddenly find their admission numbers going down because of the coming up of a new school in the neighborhood. And this would result in a threat to the existence of the institution. So the institution definitely needs to gear up to face this competition. And that would again require some kind of an intervention for organization development. Beckard has defined organizational development as an effort planned organization-wide and managed from the top to increase organization effectiveness and health through planned interventions in organizational processes using behavioral science knowledge. French and Bell have defined organizational development as a long-range effort to improve an organization's problem-solving and renewal processes, particularly through a more effective and collaborative management of organizations' culture, with special emphasis on the culture of formal work teams with the assistance of a change agent or catalyst, and the use of the theory and technology of applied behavior science, including action research. According to Dale S. Beach, organization development is a complex educational strategy designed to increase organizational effectiveness and wealth through planned intervention by a consultant using theory and techniques of applied behavioral science. What we derive from these definitions for the meaning of organization development is that it is a planned change, not incidental. It is by the intervention of an external agent. The purpose is to improve. It aims at increasing the well-being of the organization as well as the effectiveness. the well-being, the physical and emotional well-being of the workers at the organization. Changes are constantly taking place in our external environment, and to incorporate those changes, people need to be ready to adapt to those changes. Normally, there is a lot of resistance to change, and as a result, there is a need to bring about a readiness for people to change, to gear them up and train them for bringing about a change. And hence, there is a need for organizational development to train the people to change. Today, organizations are multicultural in their settings, and as a result, many a times there can be tensions created. We need to make the employees in the organization to this cultural diversity, and as a result, there is a need for organizational change. People in the organization need to be treated as people and not as resources, and to make them feel valued, they need to be given the opportunities to grow to their maximum and optimum potential, need to be given opportunities on how they can influence and relate to their work and contribute to the organization. Any organization needs to prove its reason of existence, and one of the reasons of its existence is profitability, viability and visibility in the market. And this is possible only if the institution or organization is effective. So organization development helps in improving the overall effectiveness of organizations. Having looked into the meaning and need of organization development, let us now look at the importance of organizational development. First, it helps to identify barriers, snags, or simply areas where a change is required. Secondly, it improves the climate of the organization by addressing the problem instead of pushing it below the rug. Human nature is such that whenever we are encountered with problems, we tend to ignore as we are resistant to change. And in the process, we try to push things below the rug instead of facing them and solving the problems. So organization development helps us focus on these problems, address them as they arrive instead of ignoring them. Many a times, such problems that have not been addressed at the appropriate time turn out to be very big issues and problems later on. So in order to avoid situations like that, organizational development helps us address problems at the opportune time. Thirdly, organizational development improves major parameters of an organization: the productivity, the quality of products, as well as the services that it delivers. In the process of organization development, a lot of research is taken up, and this results in a lot of new knowledge that is gained, which helps further in development and upgrading of the standard of the organization. Fifthly, organization development results in growth, improvement and uplift of organizations. The very reason of existence and meaning of an organization is to be profitable and contributing to society. And this can be done only when an organization is growing continuously. And lastly, organization development analyzes the work processes, the structure of the system, the abilities of the people to help them maximize and integrate these in achievement of organizational goals. Ultimately, all the different systems in the organization work towards one common goal, and that is achievement of the organizational goals. Organizational development empowers the employees because it increases their ability, motivates and increases their enthusiasm. Self-motivated individuals can be the best assets any organization can have. We thus can conclude that organizational development is very, very important for the well-being of any organization. Let us look at the procedure of organizational development. The first step is identification of problem. The next is data collection. The third step is diagnosis. The fourth is planning and intervention. The fifth step is implementation. And the last step is evaluation and follow-up. The first step is identification of the problem. In this step, the organization needs to introspect and find out what exactly is the underlying problem that is posing as a barrier in its effectiveness. Is it something to do with its reputation and prestige? Is it the satisfaction of the employees and the personnel? Or is it performance of the organization as a whole, or stagnation and underutilization of the resources, lack of funds, or are there impediments in achieving the mission of the organization? Once the problem has been identified, the next step is to gather data, and so our next step is data collection. In order to gather data, we need to have the appropriate tools. So decisions regarding the tools have to be taken. Are we going to use a questionnaire, a rating scale, an interview schedule, or an observation schedule? And once this decision is taken, measures are taken to construct these tools, or ready-made tools may also be used. The next step after data collection is diagnosis. After all, the entire exercise has been carried out to diagnose the problem. So, the data that has been collected is analyzed and assessed by experts. Experts from outside can be invited, and the expertise can be used for analyzing the data. And then decisions have to be taken as to what exactly are the problems. Is there a problem in underutilization of resources? Is it lack of funds? Is it lack of motivation or lack of ability among the staff or the personnel? The next stage is planning and intervention. Once the diagnosis has been made, it is time to decide appropriate intervention programs to bring about an improvement in the institution. So these intervention programs could be increasing or improving the skill of the staff, like, say for example, training them for the use of technology, or it could be team building for the managers and heads of departments. It could be improving interpersonal relationships of the staff and conflict management, or perhaps sensitivity training. Whatever may be the issue, an appropriate intervention program has to be decided upon. And once the decision is taken, plans have to be made about implementing these intervention programs. At the stage of implementation, the plans that have been decided upon are executed. The managers would continue motivating the people to see that the employees get as close as possible to the objectives of the intervention program. Once the intervention programs have been implemented, it is time to check the effectiveness of these programs. So, once again, an evaluation has to be carried out whether, if a program was designed to improve the skill of the employees, then whether they have been able to master those skills. On the other hand, if there was a program to bring about a change in their attitudes or the way they interact with one another, there should be measures of finding out how much is the change and whether that change is good enough to bring about effectiveness in the organization. And then of course it has to be followed up. So thus the organizational development program is a continuous program that would help in bringing about an effectiveness in the organization. Organization development will be complete only if it is followed up by some intervention programs. There are a number of intervention programs that have been devised by psychologists and management trainers over the past years. To name a few, we have process consultation, survey feedback, sensitivity training, management by objectives, team building, conflict management as some of the intervention programs. So the appropriate intervention programs have to be adopted in order to complete the cycle of organization development.